I'm a bad motherfucker.
And for the man, Jimmy Dore, while he is touring the continent, according to Jimmy, the food is good in Sweden.
Oh.
Who knew? Who knew? Oh, I mean, I guess the Swedish chef was the tip-off on the Muppets, huh? They wouldn't have a Swedish chef if the food wasn't good. I always figured he just made meatballs, though, right?
Well, my parents, my parents would always tell me that the IKEA meatballs were good.
I always heard that. I always heard that.
I never liked them.
I've never hung out at an IKEA, though. Who are these people who hang out at the IKEA? Very strange.
When we first moved to Brooklyn, my second night in Brooklyn, we went with my two roommates to IKEA to get furniture for the apartment, and that while we were there, about 2 feet of snow fell, literally. So we were almost trapped there.
So all you had were meatballs.
Yeah, well, we would have had to live on an all meatball diet.
Would've
Literally, what happened was
it would have been like Dawn of the Dead, where they're trapped in the mall, only in IKEA.
We come outside with $500 worth of random shit from this place. There's no way out. It is a whiteout. I mean, snow is everywhere. There's no cars on the road. There's this one gypsy cab pulls out way across the parking lot. Like, picture like a Wes Anderson movie, a still shot, nothing going on, and then a gypsy cab just rolls into frame.
He was wearing like a red bow tie and a green velvet jacket then?
Yeah. This is literally what happens. This was before Uber. There were no Ubers then. We start running to the cab, and there's a guy in front of us. We're like, oh, this guy's going to get the only cab out of here. We're going to be stuck here overnight. We're not going to be able to get out of here until at least tomorrow, maybe not even the day after. I mean, that was the record-setting snow where like people couldn't leave their apartments. This guy gets there. He says, hey, I'm going. I forget where he was going. Cab driver says $55. The guy in front of us says, will you take 50? The cab driver says, no, 55. This guy says, okay, fine. He turns around and leaves over $5. He forfeits the cab. So we're like, this is amazing. I ask him, I'm going here. $55. Done. That's the only reason we made it out. That's how you made it out alive. $5 in a snowstorm. That guy was going to be there for the next day. There's no way they were getting out of there that night.
Otherwise, it would have been a whole Stephen King, The Mist situation.
Yeah, exactly. And this guy was like, no, my limit's 50, your limit's 55. I guess we're not going to make a deal tonight. And that's why I was able to leave the IKEA.
All right. Well, fortunately, we have a candidate joining us today.
That was the best segment of the night, I think.
I think we're done. Our work is done here. We have a guest joining us today who, when he is in Congress, you won't have to haggle over $5 in a snowstorm. That's part of his platform. So he is. That's right. He is. All right. We'll give you the presidential treatment. You know what that means. Jose Vega's a Bronx-based activist. No, I'm not going to do you like that. Jose Vega is a Bronx-based activist who previously worked as a staffer for Diane Sayre, who ran as an independent for U.S. Senate against New York Democrat Chuck Schumer. He's recently confronted New York area politicians and Rachel Maddow about their support for the Ukraine war and to demand accountability from the Biden administration for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, as we will see. He's currently a candidate for the U.S. House in New York's 15th Congressional District against incumbent Richie Torres. Jose, welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I hope somebody can explain to me what a gypsy cab is, and then we can get started with the segment.
Do you actually not know what a gypsy cab is?
Term to use anymore. Maybe they don't use that anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you're not allowed. You have to say Romani cab.
No, before Ubers, they were a thing.
Well, of course, yeah. That's a cab that you don't call. That's the cab that just drives around and you hail the cab.
Oh, it just knows it's just there when you need it.
Yeah, well, I mean, not a yellow cab. Like you weren't.
No, it's never there when you need it, but you want it to be. Yeah,
right.
You know that's the yellow cab that you hail in New York. Before you had Ubers, you had certain private car services where if you grew up in Queens, like I did, you had the phone number memorized for the local private car service. I'm not that young.
I know about that. I do know.
You do know about that.
I know about those. I was like 10 years old calling them for my parents. So I think I remember those.
Right. So a gypsy cab is when you hail one of those as if they were a yellow cab, which technically you're not supposed to do, but sometimes you could do it anyway.
All right.
Okay,
So
yeah.
So Jose, this is really exciting news. We're going to play a little footage from your upcoming romantic comedy When Jose Met Richie. And this is your first meeting with Richie Torres, and you can really see the sparks fly here.
Cy Hirsch just released the fact that the United States blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. You weren't briefed on that. Why not? Are you going to put a congressional probe into that? Yes or no? Because this ain't no ordinary journalist. You know that.
So,
Oh, hold on. I want to hear what he has to say.
Nord Stream is a pipeline that transfers oil from Europe, particularly Germany. I'm sorry, from Russia to Germany. So we don't have the authority to investigate pipelines.
All right, come on. Now that's bullshit. You know that. Victoria Nuland herself says she's...
Does he have your vote yet? You have your vote yet? It gets better. For anyone who doesn't know, Richie Torres is really one of the biggest douchebags in the congressional caucus, and that is a very, very competitive title.
Happy that it's a pile of metal underwater. Do you share her sentiment?
Here's what we know. The Europeans are conducting an investigation.
They investigated.
And it is true.
Why did Joe Biden say that we are going to get rid of the Nord Stream pipeline? And when asked, but wait a minute, that's run by Gazprom in Germany, how are you going to do it? He said,
we'll be able to do it.
You have definitive evidence.
Yeah, we do. It's called Cy Hirsch.
Then produce the evidence.
He already
You already
did.
produced the evidence.
Has
Read the article.
Listen, this is Cy Hirsch. This is the My Lai massacre. Okay, this is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. He is not going to publish something he can't prove. So unless you're naive enough and you don't know that, I'm here to inform you. I'm at least asking for congressional inquiry into whether or not it's true, because his credibility alone should prompt that, don't you think?
The Europeans are conducting an investigation.
We know the United States did this.
It seems like you know the answer to the question.
Well, what are you gonna do? I'm your constituent.
Answer your question.
I'm your constituent. I want you to actually do something about it.
I'm going to try to answer your question once more, and then I'm going to move on. The Europeans are conducting.
That's a non-answer. What are you doing? Because if the United States did this, you have to hold them accountable.
All right, so this is part of what's been really interesting about these interventions and these confrontations, and you see this almost at every level. People have been so brainwashed into believing that they have no power that that's a radical thing that you're saying there. Hey, I'm your constituent. This is your job to do this. And nobody seems to think this way anymore.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's right. I think that and this intervention was different than all the other ones I've done before, because the other ones were not on people who directly represent me. Although I believe I should be able to go to any congressman with any issue, because any congressman,
they can affect
their
you.
vote.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Right. But this is the guy that I'm supposedly supposed to re-elect if I want to. He's supposed to be listening to me, not the IPAC donors or not whoever tells him. He's supposed to be listening to me. And I'm out here telling him, you know, this is what your constituency wants to you to invest. I'm not even saying this is completely like, I'm saying investigate it. Can you lead an investigation? This is coming from your constituent. And he's just so hard-headed, and he's also just so vapid. Like you'll notice in the beginning, he got it wrong. He said, Nord Stream is a pipeline that transfers oil. I mean, Germany to Russia.
You know,
to Germany.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, because one of the things that I caught was that he corrected himself. Because, okay, yeah, he might be dumb, but not for a congressperson. You know, Jamal would never have figured that out. It would have just been like, yeah, it would have just got. I can't remember now. There was some reporter who, you know, was basically spilling the tea. And that's what he said. He said, you have no idea how stupid these people in Congress actually are. So even the fact that he corrected himself kind of makes him the Moriarty to your Holmes, I think.
That's quite a comparison, but okay. Because I don't see him that way. He's really just. Well, I guess we'll see more. I don't need to. He'll show how bad he is.
Let's see some more. All right.
Listen, we are on the verge of a nuclear war right now. I don't think you know that, and if the people here don't know that, they should. Look, you talk a big game about the Bronx. You talk a big game about a lot of things, but guess what? None of it's going to matter if we're all dead. Think about that for a second, right? You are leading us into a nuclear war. What's happening in Ukraine directly affects what's happening here. You don't think you're going to get us into a nuclear war? Is exactly how we get into a nuclear war. Now, as your constituent, I demand that you stop funding the Ukrainians. I understand that you're also an Israeli lobby plant.
Ooh.
Look, how can
Ahead
you
of the
deny
curve.
what's happening to the Palestinians, but you can defend what's going on in Ukraine? And now you're trying to erase their history. You are the biggest fraud. You think George Santos is a liar? You're the biggest fraud here.
Boom.
Yeah.
Ahead of the curve, way before October 7th. So tell people a little bit about that district, because you mentioned he talks about the Bronx. Now, you were telling me the other day, I didn't even know this, because this district, I miss being in this district by like a hair. You said this is the poorest congressional district, the South Bronx?
It is the poorest congressional district in the entire country.
I did not know that.
There have been books written about it. Jonathan Kozol was famous for writing a book, multiple books on this issue of the poverty in the South Bronx, and he's won many awards, and nothing's been done about it. Everyone knows this. I've been around the world at this point now, from China, Germany, Ireland, and I tell people I'm from the Bronx, and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I know what that is." I don't need to say New York City.
No.
It's like it's a worldwide phenomenon to be from the Bronx, and people just kind of like know what that means already. So yes, this is the poorest congressional district. The poverty line in New York City is about $34,000 a year,
which is absurd.
35% of people living in this district are under that line. And and more people are probably on some kind of welfare assistance. And this isn't counting the fact that there's a lot of squalor, poverty. This isn't counting the fact that there are like 8 people living in 2-bedroom apartments, right? All crammed in there. I mean, buildings are literally collapsing in the Bronx. We shut down schools and hospitals and fire stations, right? This place has long been forgotten, but it's not because it's been forgotten. It's intentionally been destroyed. And this goes back to the history of New York City from 1970, where there was this city planner called Roger Starr, who had this inane plan called Plan Shrinkage. It's like, yeah, we're just going to shut down all the police stations and fire stations in the early 1970s. And, we're just going to see what happens. I wonder what happens. And then it was intended to reduce the population. It's called Plan Shrinkage. It's all up in the New York Times. People can Google this. And that's what we're still feeling those effects to this day, because that's still the policy to this day. It hasn't been reversed. It hasn't been changed. That's what it is. And that's what this district is.
Well, haven't they shifted really to gentrification? See, that's what's surprising. The South Bronx, all right, this was a few years ago now. Some real estate development company did try to do a big gentrification event in the South Bronx that was maybe the most tasteless thing ever conceived by a real estate development company, and that's another very competitive category. They literally had like an urban apocalypse themed event to bring in investors with like barbed wire and burned out cars, but as like a set. And the people in the Bronx came out and protested it. So this is part of why I'm surprised, because I remember reading that story years ago, and I figured they had continued to gentrify the area. But from what you're telling me, no, they just didn't for whatever reason, which is amazing, because you got very wealthy Manhattan just right next to it.
Well, it's kind of like Harlem, and also COVID did slow it down a lot, but there are a lot of new buildings being built in the South Bronx right now. Like, it is happening, but in Harlem, and you know this from living in Harlem, if you start on the east side, like the most east side of Harlem at 125th Street, it's just horrible. It looks terrible.
Yeah.
And then the walk west.
I don't know why that is.
West,
do you know why that is? Why is the east side fucked up and the west side's nice? Why?
I heard a theory that it's like because our rulers, you know, hate the East and only want to love the West. But I think that might be a little too, you know, like you know. But anyway, yeah, but I don't exactly know why the east side of Harlem is the way it is and the west side is better. I just know you know, and this is true for a lot of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King boulevards around the country. They're all just poor. They're all just like destroyed this way. And that is done intentionally. That is done as a way to like mock, you know, the people living in those neighborhoods in a way to mock those figures.
Right. All right. So let's look a little bit more at your opponent here. So Medea Benjamin put out this tweet: Torres lies, people die. Richie Torres is more focused on backing Israel's genocide than supporting his own constituents in the Bronx. While almost a third of his district, as you just said, is below the poverty line, Torres wants to send billions to keep arming Israel. Shame. So let's take a look at what he's been up to.
Why does the European Union's chief of foreign policy say that Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war? Are you disagreeing with them? Are they wrong? Is the EU getting it wrong? Yeah. The EU's lying. Yeah.
You're a disgrace.
I'm a disgrace because...
Absolutely, you're a disgrace.
Why? Because I don't believe that children should be starved to death? I do not.
You're siding with a terrorist organization.
I am not siding with Hamas.
A war that brought senseless suffering to both Israelis and Palestinians.
I am not. I'm not taking a side with.
You
I'm simply
Israel, who is carrying out a genocide.
There's no Israel's not. You're absurd.
There's no genocide.
Over 30
genocide means the destruction of a people.
A genocide is the purposeful action to destroy in part or in whole a unique ethnic or religious or national group. Do you not believe that there is an attempt to commit genocide?
Still genocide.
Why did the International Court of Justice rule there's a plausible genocide going on? Do you at least believe there's a plausible genocide? Do you agree with them on that? No genocide. There's nothing. Okay. Yes or no? Are they starving to death? And if
there are people who are starving because Hamas is stealing aid.
Whoa. So an organization with a total of 30,000 people is stealing all the aid necessary for 2.2 million people.
An organization of 30,000 people?
Yeah, 35,000 people. That's the members of Hamas. Yeah. So, but then why does the European Union's chief of foreign policy say that Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war? Are you disagreeing with them? Are they wrong? Is the EU getting it wrong? Yeah. The EU's lying.
Yes.
All right, so this was a group that brought a letter to his office.
Has over 700,000 people living in his district. He has taken throughout his career over $1 million from pro-Israel lobby groups. He spends most of his time focusing on harassing college students who speak out for Palestine. He tweets all day and goes on speeches advocating for Israel and refuses to acknowledge the poverty that is going on in his own district. He actually has the poorest district in the country, hands down, out of over 430 districts. 32.1% of the individuals of his constituents in his district are below the poverty line. The national average is 12%. So that's more than double the national average. Research conducted by Adam Johnson at The Intercept found that in his public speeches, he mentioned Israel 337 times. He mentioned poverty 142 times. It's clear what Richie Torres prioritizes. It's Israel over his own people, over the poverty, and over improving his own district.
All right. Anything to say to that, Jose?
I'm going to use this moment right now to kind of rally people and their anger around Richie Torres, because some of the best campaigning that's been going on for my campaign has come from Richie Torres. Like, first of all, I just quit my job. I was working part-time as a barista, and I stopped because I'm realizing the gravity of the situation, and I'm realizing I don't have a choice anymore. I'm all in on this campaign now. Like, that is what I'm bringing to all of you, to the viewers of this show, but also to humanity. There is a moral responsibility I have to be at my utmost focus and attention on this campaign. Not even because of me. This is not a vanity thing. This is because this scumbag needs to go, right? And so what I can promise you, what I can absolutely promise you, is every inch of me in this fight to take this guy down. Come what may, that is what I am completely committed to. I don't have AIPAC money. I don't have special interest money. I don't have Lockheed or Raytheon money. What I have is you and your manpower and all of your minds and your moral compasses of people who want to do good. Okay? I'm not, this is my first time ever running my own campaign. You know, I'm making mistakes. It's a little sloppy, but I don't have a choice. And that's why I need your help, because it's exactly because I don't have the IDF behind me or the ADL behind me who have professionals who can just do this for Richie Torres, who are getting ready to bulldoze me. I need all of you to help me start and build a movement here for proof that people like AIPAC cannot just buy districts, because that's what that is. They own over 400 congressmen that have received donations from AIPAC one way or another. And what I need all of us to do is prove that AIPAC does not have the right to buy a congressional district, that the people of the district have a right to decide who they want in their district, and then it not be owned by these special interests, but by you. That you are the one holding your representatives accountable, and you are the ones deciding who's actually in the seat and who's not in the seat. And so, yes, I'm 25 years old, right? I've never had any actual political experience, but I tell the truth, and people know I tell the truth. And that's a way better head start at qualifying me to be in office over Richie Torres and me qualifying over anybody else in the Congress, because most of the congressmen don't tell the truth and they just lie, right? And I promise to tell the truth. And I actually promise to listen to people. But most importantly, I promise to work with you and work with everyone to get this scumbag out. You know, this has been kind of like a transformation I've gone through in the last 2 weeks, ever since, you know, you and I sat down, Russ, to eat, you know, at Sylvia's. And I saw this picture of Obama and Al Sharpton, and I was just so disgusted by it. And I realized right there, I was just like...
that was the test, man. I wanted to see if you'd sell out. That's why I brought you there. I wanted to see how you react.
So look, now I have no safety net anymore. You know, that barista job was keeping me afloat. Now I don't have that anymore. And the truth is, like, I can't even pay myself on this campaign more than what I'm paying myself now. You'll see it in the first APC filing. I'm paying myself $400 a week. That's all I can pay myself. Because last year, I'm one of the people who live underneath the poverty line, right? I only made like $22,000, $23,000 last year. So I legally cannot pay myself more than whatever I made last year, right? So the FEC rules are designed to keep poor people poor if they actually want to challenge this.
Right.
So I don't know what comes in November. I don't know what kind of financial situation I'm going to be in. I don't care. Because what matters right now is getting this scumbag out and proving that there can be a way for people to win over special interests. And so I need your help. I don't have AIPAC money. I need manpower. I mean, I don't know how many people are watching right now. If 1,000 people came to the Bronx and handed out my literature for a whole day, or helped me get signatures, which is actually what I need, right? In order for me to be a choice come November, right? So if you want to see Richie Torres' name and then my name, I need 10,000 signatures in 10 days. And that window starts April 16th. And it goes till May 28th. But I want to knock it out of the park in the first 10 days to build that momentum.
Just to explain this.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, just to explain this a little bit to people. Okay, so given many gifts to the world, amongst them, the American style of corrupt urban machine politics. So Tammany Hall ran New York for about 100 years. Democrats. It's still basically a one-party state with occasional lapses. But because of that, you have these vestiges of Tammany Hall in the system that are designed to make it almost impossible to challenge the Democrats. For example, if you want to change your registration, you have to do it 6 months. What is it, 90 days? It's 90 days, right? You guys know, Keaton, you know?
Well, if you want to vote in a primary, now they moved it up to Valentine's Day as a compromise. It used to be like something like the September or October before the primary, which would be in like April, May, or June.
Right, it was 6 months.
So it used to be like 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's
down to
like
about 3.
now it's like 90 days.
Yeah.
But still, The purpose of that is to prevent any grassroots candidate from breaking out, because they tend to catch fire later because they come into the cycle without money. So they have to spread their campaign on word of mouth, and then they can get some money from donors. They want all of the people who have come engaged or energized by that campaign to not be able to vote in order to not get you anywhere. Now, Jose, we would not, honestly, as much as we love Jose, if you were running as a Democrat, that's a deal breaker, man. We don't play the duopoly anymore. Not Republican, not Democrat. He is running as an independent, and that's why we are going to come out. Me and Keaton are coming ourselves to petition people to get him on the ballot. Was it April 20th?
April 20th. Yes,
so 420, man. Let's,
we'll
you know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to hotbox the Bronx.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I don't touch the stuff. I don't think Keaton does either, right? You know?
No.
We're
neither do
we're
I.
Straight arrows. Yeah. You too? Yeah. All
No,
right.
I don't.
So
Yeah.
we're all
There you
in.
go. We'll be the only 3 out there then.
I'm telling you.
We'll be the designated
all day,
drivers of the event.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to show you folks, in case you're not convinced yet, what a piece of it Richie Torres is. So you might remember this guy. This is Israel's defense minister. And he calls the Gazans human animals and calls for cutting off their water and power. This was a few months ago, but just to remind you.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
So what's Richie Torres doing this week? Oh, there he is. He's smiling and shaking hands with this genocidal maniac. Look, Yoav Galani tweets out, excellent discussion with Richie Torres on developments in the war and regional challenges. We value the United States' steadfast support. Congressman Torres reflects our strong ties and true friendship, as well as the importance of U.S. leadership in the region at this time. Look at this. This is right in the middle of these aid workers being killed. Everybody else, even who is it, kid? Chris Coons, who just came out and said they should condition aid.
Well, I don't know. Hadn't heard that he said that, but I know that a lot of people have since come out and said that. Yeah.
One of the very rank and file.
as Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss, the rabbinical grace, soiling the mattresses? Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate shitty coffee? I, for one, really hate shitty coffee, which is why I'm excited to introduce to you a company that's revolting against shitty coffee, and it's called the 1775 Coffee Company. Now, I haven't had it yet because I only drink decaf. Steph has had it. Steph, how do you like it?
I really like it. You know what? I have a French press, and so I've been using my French press and totally enjoying it. It's delicious. It's smooth. It's smooth.
So 1775, the world awakened to a new era. And now it's 1775 Coffee Company is bringing you a coffee that embodies that revolutionary spirit. Crafted with passion and precision, our beans are ethically and exclusively sourced from the finest coffee beans farms of Bolivia. Didn't know that. 1775 Coffee Company's farm-to-cup journey ensures the highest quality of authenticity and sustainability from start to finish. With each sip, your palate will recognize and appreciate the dedication and passion that goes into crafting this single-sourced brew. 1775 Coffee Company takes pride in offering customers a truly exceptional coffee experience with their premium coffee collection. But their dedication to this revolution extends beyond the realm of taste. Safeguarding freedom of speech is critical right now, which is why 1775 Coffee Company has joined forces with Rumble in defense of one of our most fundamental rights, freedom of speech. Coffee that's sure to awaken all your senses, including the sense of freedom. So choose 1775 Coffee by going to 1775coffee.com/litter. That's LITTER, and use the code LITTER for 10% off the checkout on your first order. 1775 Coffee, brewed to perfection, crafted with revolution.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit